Welcome to the Clinical File. I'm John Cordray, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, and this is my mental health analysis of the Susan Avalon case. I'll be focusing on the main mental health and psychological indicators while providing the backstory. I don't just talk about the crimes, I talk about the psychology behind the crimes and the mysteries that captivate us. I look beyond the facts of the case to understand the why of the crime. My analysis is based on my speculations. It's not a diagnosis of anyone involved in this case. What happens when years of built-up resentment from failed relationships pushes someone to the breaking point where they see no other way out? In cases like this, we often see how unresolved conflict can manifest in extreme behaviors, raising the question, could chronic stress from ongoing disputes erode a person's ability to cope rationally? On December 17, 2025, in Florida, a 54-year-old man opened his front door expecting a food delivery. Instead, he was shot multiple times and later died at the hospital. This man, who had been divorced from Susan Avalon for about 11 years, reportedly identified his ex-wife as the possible shooter before he passed. Susan Erica Avalon, a 51-year-old woman living in Citrus County, was arrested that same evening and charged with second-degree murder in connection with this shooting. Prosecutors indicated plans to upgrade the charge to first-degree murder and may seek the death penalty. As a counselor, I look at behaviors like using a ruse to gain access to someone's home. This kind of calculated deception might point to a deeper psychological pattern where an individual feels justified in manipulating situations to achieve their goals, often stemming from a sense of entitlement or unresolved grudges. Why would someone go to such lengths to create a false scenario like posing as a delivery person with stolen food from a nearby Panera Bread? It suggests a level of premeditation that could indicate an instability in to process emotions healthily, perhaps turning inward anger into outward action. Surveillance footage captured Avalon taking food from the pickup shelf without paying, then driving to the victim's home. Neighbors described the victim as a kind family man with children and pets living a quiet life. The shooting happened around 3 p.m. in a residential neighborhood. From a mental health perspective, acts of violence in domestic settings often link back to long-term emotional wounds. In this instance, court records show Avalon and this ex-husband had been entangled in custody battles for years, with Avalon owing about $4,000 in child support. She faced a deadline in December 2025 to pay $200 or risk losing her driver's license. Financial pressures like this can amplify feelings of desperation or entrapment, leading me to speculate how constant legal and monetary stress contribute to a mindset where extreme measures seem like the only solution. That same day, another ex-husband was found dead in his Tampa home on East Pearson Avenue with multiple gunshot wounds and signs of forced entry through a rear door. This discovery came after a welfare check prompted by the Brayton investigation. The Tampa shooting is believed to have occurred before the Brayton one, though charges were still pending as the investigation continues. Authorities from Manatee County Sheriff's Office and Tampa Police Department are coordinating, noting credible evidence linking Avalon to both incidents. Both victims were ex-husbands, and the cases are treated as target attacks rooted in domestic issues. Considering the psychology here, committing acts against two separate individuals in one day raises questions about emotional detachment. When detectives first approached Avalon at her home and mentioned her ex-husband, she reportedly responded, "Which one?" This casual reply could reflect a psychological numbing, where repeated conflicts desensitize someone to the gravity of their actions, prompting us to ask, at what point does bitterness override empathy entirely? Avalon's live-in boyfriend provided key details to investigators. He mentioned that she had recently tracked down one ex-husband's address and, the day before the shootings, told him she loved him in case something happened to her. This statement might hint at foreshadowing, a behavior sometimes seen in individuals contemplating high-risk actions. It could stem from underlying anxiety or a subconscious acknowledgement of impending consequences. Why would someone express such sentiments if they were not grappling with internal turmoil that blurs the line between self-preservation and destruction? Upon returning home after the events, Avalon was observed still wearing the gray sweatshirt seen in the surveillance video. She then began cleaning her minivan with bleach and rags, actions that suggest an attempt to eliminate evidence. In mental health terms, this post-event behaviors might indicate a shift in survivor mode, where panic or regret kicks in, but only after the act. This raises another question. Could a pattern of impulsive decisions followed by frantic cover-ups signal deeper issues with impulse control or reality testing? Looking further into Avalon's background, records reveal a history of child abuse allegations. In 2004, she was arrested in Virginia on a child abuse charge, which was later dropped. Similar cases in Tampa and Pasco County were also dismissed, all connected to custody disputes with her ex-husbands. These involved approximately 5 children for both marriages. As a professional counselor, I can see how repeated accusations, even if dropped, can fuel a cycle of defensiveness and paranoia. It makes me wonder, how does living under constant scrutiny in family courts affect one's mental state, potentially leading to a perception that the system is against them? The custody battles appear to be central to the narrative. Years of legal fights over children can create profound psychological strain, often manifesting as chronic resentment or feelings of betrayal. In Avalon's case, the ongoing disputes with both ex-husbands likely intensified over time, especially with the added financial burden of unpaid support. This could foster a mindset where the individuals involved become symbols of a past injustice or blurring personal accountability. What role does prolonged emotional exhaustion play in escalating from arguments to irreversible actions? Investigators noted the domestic nature of these events, where former partners turn against each other in extreme ways. The sheriff described it as unprecedented, emphasizing how someone might decide to end the life of a person they once loved. From my viewpoint, this shift often ties to unmet needs for control or closure after a relationship ends. Divorce, especially contentious ones, can leave lasting scars, prompting questions like, why do some people internalize failure as a personal attack, leading to vengeful thoughts? The impact on the children is another layer. With 5 children affected, the psychological ripple effects are significant. Children in high-conflict divorces may experience anxiety, divided loyalties, or trauma that persist into adulthood. In analyzing the perpetrator's potential mindset, it's worth considering if awareness of this harm was overridden by the immediate emotional needs. Could a focus on self-justification minimize the foreseen devastation to family members? As the case unfolds, more details may emerge about Avalon's state of mind leading up to December 17th. But for now, the coordinated investigations highlight how behaviors like tracking addresses and creating ruses point to a deliberate intent. This level of organization contrasts with impulsive acts, suggesting a buildup of psychological pressure. How might suppressed rage from years of perceived wrongs erupt in a single orchestrated day? Neighbors and community members in Brayton remember the victim as gentle and family-oriented. His teenage daughter assisted police by providing information that helped identify Avalon. This involvement underscores the broader psychological toll on survivors who must navigate grief and legal proceedings. Why do some family dynamics devolve into such tragedy while others resolve peacefully? Avalon's arrest occurred at her Citrus County home, about 125 miles from Manatee County. She remains in custody, with the Tampa case still developing. In reflecting on the why, I consider factors like isolation or lack of support systems. Living with a boyfriend who noticed her odd statements, yet perhaps not intervening, raises questions about relational dynamics. Could enabling environments contributed to unchecked mental health declines? The use of forced entry in the Tampa shootings adds another behavioral clue. Breaking into a home implies determination and disregard for boundaries, traits sometimes associated with escalating aggression. Combined with the ruse of Bradenton, it paints a picture of adaptability in a pursuit of a goal. What psychological flexibility allows someone to switch tactics while maintaining focus on harm? Financial stressors like the impending license suspension often exacerbate mental health issues. In counseling, I've seen how money troubles compound relationship conflicts, creating a perfect storm. For Avalon, owing thousands in support amid custody fights might have felt like an insurmountable barrier. But how does economic pressure intersect with emotional instability to fuel drastic choices? As we piece together the events, the aha moment comes in realizing how interconnected the disputes were. Both ex-husbands represented ongoing sources of conflict, and addressing them in one day suggests a desire for finality. Psychologically, this could indicate a breaking point where accumulated stress overrides rational thought. It's accumulation of years of tension where clues like dropped charges and financial debts build to an explosive resolution. The mysteries in this case lie in the motivations behind such calculated risk. With no weapon found and evidence still being processed, the full picture may reveal more about the intent. In my analysis, behaviors like cleaning with bleach post-event show awareness of consequences, yet proceeding anyway. This duality raises questions like, why do some individuals recognize wrongdoing but lack the brakes to stop? Victimology here focuses on former spouses, highlighting betrayal's role. The psychological impact of sudden violence on families is profound, often leading to long-term therapy needs. For the perpetrator, if convicted, understanding the why could inform prevention in similar domestic cases. Clues from the boyfriend's statement and Avalon's response to the police come full circle, illustrating premeditation and detachment. It's another reminder of how unaddressed mental health indicators can lead to a tragedy. All right, so this is a very complex case here. Avalon was obviously had one complete focus in mind to end the lives of both of her ex-husbands. She was likely focused more on that than she was on the after effect of what that might lead to with the children and their families. It's amazing to me that a person can lead a somewhat normal life and just snap and have a plan to go execute. This was an execution. That's just exactly what it was. She had a plan to execute. And it wasn't a moment of rage here. This was planned. This was a plan of finding out addresses and driving long distances and having a weapon and having everything planned out. She knew exactly what she was doing. She obviously wasn't thinking clearly about the ripple effects that this would have. So what did you think about this case? Were there any elements that stood out to you? If you want more mental health analysis of true crime stories like this one, be sure to subscribe for more. And if you found this case compelling, be sure to watch this next story. It will make you more aware of your surroundings. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe.